Chapter 61. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, so everyone in Kyushu knew this super powerful dragon was out there, but nobody knew how far away it was. And get this, practically every dynasty was after it. But if a dynasty actually got their hands on this dragon essence, they'd be enemy number one for everyone else. Whoa, didn't think about that. Ding Zheng's eyes lost their sparkle, and he sighed. Right. Maybe we shouldn't be looking for this dragon just yet, that if the Heavenly Dao Golden List hadn't spilled the beans about the Dragon Yuan's powers, the Qin searching the seas for a real dragon wouldn't be a big deal, but now, everyone in Kyushu knows Dragon Yuan can make you live forever. Even the most powerful dynasty couldn't handle every other dynasty in Kyushu wanting a piece. That's it. After thinking it over, Yingyun shook his head and scrapped the dragon hunt. Sure, immortality's tempting. But not if it means risking the whole Qin Dynasty. Yingyun knew what was important. Chapter 71, Dragon Yuan Devoured. Did Emperor Shakten actually achieve immortality? Of course, there were dynasties in Kyushu, like Yingyun, who saw the truth. They were psyched about the Dragon Yuan, dying to get it. But for a bunch of reasons, they decided to stay put. Plus, a lot of dynasty emperors were secretly hoping someone else would bring the Dragon Yuan back to Kyushu so they could swoop in and steal it. In Kyushu, it's a dog-eat-dog world. They're fighting over territory all the time, let alone something that could make you immortal. Still, some emperors chose to build ships and brave the seas. Meanwhile, the scene jumped forward, showing that future Su Fu figured out how to beat the real dragon by piecing together stuff from old books. He needed the 7 greatest weapons in the world and 7 masters who could wield them. Finding the weapons was easy, but finding masters who were worthy? Not so much. Sometimes, Su Fu even held a weapon himself, but he just didn't feel like he was the right guy for it, so, Su Fu hit the road again, traveling around Kyushu to find these 7 masters. This time, he had a mission. The picture flashed again, another few decades flew by. Finally, Su Fu found a guy named Nye Feng and another named Yingyun. They were a match for the blood-drinking blade and the peerless sword, 2 of the 7 weapons. Then, Emperor Shirtian pulled some strings, and Su Fu found the other masters. They were Pejun, Duan Lang, Xinjiang, Huai Kong, and Huang Ying. Just like that, all 7 masters and 7 weapons were together. Su Fu decided it was time to set sail again. They headed for the island in the middle of the lake. That's where Su Fu had run into the real dragon last time. He was outnumbered and had to bail, but now, he had 7 masters with him, so things were different. These masters were all at least top tier. And with the 7 divine weapons, their fighting power was insane. Plus, Su Funei, being a great master himself, played a key role in taking on the real dragon. And just like that, they killed the real dragon together. Then, the Dragon Yuan appeared. Everyone in Jojo locked their eyes on the golden light. Swallow it, and you live forever. Okay, so they knew this was the future, and maybe these 7 masters weren't even born yet. But the temptation was almost too much to handle. Back in the scene, the 7 masters Su Fu had gathered turned on each other, all wanting the Dragon Yuan. They saw Su Fu's ambition and knew he'd be a disaster for Kyushu if he became immortal. So, the 7 masters ganged up on Su Fu. But Emperor Shirtian was too strong. He was a little banged up from fighting the real dragon, but he was still a great master. When he fought, it was earth-shattering. The 7 masters knew they couldn't beat Emperor Shirtian, so they focused on snatching the Dragon Yuan. In the end, the Dragon Yuan split into 7 pieces, and each of them got 1. Emperor Shirtian was furious, but he couldn't catch everyone running in different directions, so he decided to take them down one by one. Su Fu only got 1 of the 7 Dragon Yuan. The power of the Dragon Yuan was too much, so Su Fu decided to hold off on eating it. He'd wait until he was healed up first, and maybe snatch the other pieces, too. But things didn't go his way. Su Fu was strong, but it was mainly thanks to Phoenix blood, and he was seriously hurt from the dragon fight. Meanwhile, the masters with Dragon Yuan got a huge power boost and even forced the Grandmaster Emperor Shetian to run away. That's when he grabbed another Dragon Yuan. He was desperate to heal, so Emperor Shetian ate the Dragon Yuan without thinking about its raw power. Boom! Phoenix blood and Dragon Yuan clashed in Emperor Shetian's body. All of Zhou was shocked. Phoenix blood and Dragon Yuan were finally together. Was Emperor Shetian about to become truly immortal? Heavenly Gate. Ha ha ha. Emperor Shetian was laughing his head off. He was mad when the 7 masters he'd gathered betrayed him, wanting to kill them all. And seeing the dragon essence ripped into pieces broke his heart. That's what he had been working on for years, trying to get immortality. How could it be split up? But now, Emperor Shetian's anger was gone. He knew that after eating the dragon essence, he wouldn't just be immortal, but his skills would get a major boost. Those 7 masters would be nothing. He could beat them with one hand tied behind his back. Okay. Okay. When I'm immortal, who can stop me? Emperor Shetian stood up, staring at himself on the screen. I'll be the undisputed king of Zhou. Huh? What's this? Emperor Shetian felt like things were going his way, but he noticed something. He seemed a little off after eating the dragon essence. He even looked older. Emperor Shetian was confused. The ancient book said Dragon Yuan makes you immortal, so why was he getting older? Not just Emperor Shetian, but everyone in Zhou was stunned. In the picture, Emperor Shetian ate the Dragon Yuan, but instead of becoming immortal, he looked even more terrifying. What was going on? For a moment, all of Zhou was silent. Could it be that Dragon Yuan doesn't actually make you immortal? That thought popped into everyone's head, everyone was speechless. Daqin, Zhongtai Palace was dead silent. Yingyun had given up on finding a real dragon, but he still wanted to live forever, he just didn't want to bet the whole Daqin on it. But now, Yingyun was stunned. Dragon essence can't make you immortal. Dragon essence is overpowering, phoenix blood is gentle. Mixing 2 totally different forces is gonna cause problems. Yingyun shook his head. Chapter 62. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What a waste of dragon essence. Yingyun, being a land god, could immediately see that Emperor Shetian was getting wrecked by the clashing forces inside him. See, Emperor Shetian thought he could use his phoenix blood, which has amazing healing powers and grants him long life, and combine it with the Dragon Yuan to become truly immortal. But he was wrong. Dragon and phoenix powers are polar opposites. There's no way they could coexist peacefully in his body. Really? Yingyun was stunned. He took a closer look at Emperor Shetian and nodded. Yeah, it's true, that he could see the 2 forces warring within Emperor Shetian, almost tearing him apart, so, it wasn't that the Dragon Yuan couldn't grant immortality, but, these 2 forces were totally incompatible. You could see it if you paid attention, but Yingyun was so focused on the Dragon Yuan that he overlooked Emperor Shetian's condition. Wait a minute. Is this kid really that sharp? Remembering Yingyun's earlier analysis, Yingyun was surprised. He glanced over at him, and his face fell. Yingyun was just leaning there, yawning, looking totally bored, so, it wasn't him who had figured it out, still the same lazy bum. Yingyun sighed, not knowing what to say. Meanwhile, across all of Zhou, people were noticing the changes in Su Fu's body, and they were starting to understand the conflict between the 2 forces, which led to the current mess. Everyone was shaken. Su Fu worked so hard to get the Dragon Yuan, and it's ending like this? At Tianmen. I don't believe it. This can't be happening. Seeing himself on screen, Su Fu nearly lost it. How could the Dragon Yuan not work for him? Watching himself cough up dragon essence, he understood that it was clashing with his phoenix blood, but he refused to accept it. All the work and the countless years of planning, just to end up like this. There has to be a way. There has to be a way to fuse the Dragon Yuan with the phoenix blood. Gradually, Su Fu calmed down, his gloomy voice echoing, blending with the Emperor Shetian in the picture. As the scene continued, Emperor Shirtian wasn't giving up. He was searching for a way to merge phoenix blood and dragon essence. Remember, Emperor Shirtian learned almost every martial arts secret in JoJo centuries ago, so, after a moment of thought, Emperor Shirtian found a martial art that might work. 5 Thunder Transformation Hands. This skill can transform all the divine weapons in the world, including your own skills. And, without the phoenix blood, he could absorb the dragon essence. You have to admit, Emperor Shirtian was determined. 2,000 years of skill and the cultivation of a great master, to anyone else, that would be everything. But to swallow the dragon essence and achieve true immortality, Emperor Shirtian decided to master the 5 Thunder Transformation Hands. He's something else. Everyone in JoJo looked at Emperor Shirtian, willing to sacrifice his own skills, and most of them were stunned. They used to think of Emperor Shirtian as just a lucky quack who got where he was by swallowing phoenix blood and becoming immortal, but now, their view of him was changing. Not everyone has the courage to throw away a lifetime of work. Even for immortality, that's a price most people couldn't imagine paying. Just when most of JoJo was impressed by Emperor Shirtian's courage, someone burst into the scene. Was that one of the masters Emperor Shirtian had recruited? To kill the real dragon, Emperor Shirtian had hired 7 masters. But his methods weren't exactly ethical. Those images only flashed by, and no one understood them. They only knew that Su Fu had ticked off the 7 masters while trying to get them to cooperate. That's why they all stole the dragon Yuan. And now, it was bad news that one of these masters was showing up while Emperor Shirtian was trying to master the 5 Thunder Transformation skill. A chaotic fight broke out. But Emperor Shirtian had lived for 2,000 years. Even though he was seriously injured and the 5 Thunder Transformation Hands were changing all his skills, no one could beat him. After taking some hits, Emperor Shirtian managed to kill him, but before he could catch his breath, more masters arrived. This time, Emperor Shirtian was in for a real fight. He was beaten and forced to flee with serious injuries. How dare you, a little ant, mess with me? At Tianmen, Su Fu, watching himself running away, flew into a rage. When I get my strength back, I'll tear you limb from limb. He vowed. I'll make sure you have no place to hide. He was furious. He hadn't been so humiliated in 2,000 years. Good thing I still have 2 dragon essences. Watching himself flee in the picture, Su Fu was silent for a moment, and then a smile appeared on his face. Now I'm the one with 2, and they only have 1 at most. When I eat them, I'll be truly invincible. Crushing them will be like crushing ants. Thinking of that last part, Su Fu burst out laughing, completely delighted. Chapter 73, A Life of Wandering. He finally meets Duanlong. The strength of Emperor Shirtian really impressed everyone in JoJo. He really deserved to be called a grandmaster. He was so powerful. Even when Su Fu had almost no strength left, he could defeat a grandmaster or even kill him. Finally, he had to flee in panic from several grandmasters. If he hadn't been so weak, even seriously injured, very few people in JoJo could have beaten him. As for the 7 masters, it was totally impossible. Grandmaster. It was unimaginable. At this moment, everyone in JoJo had a better understanding of the realm above the Grandmaster. Is he going to find the Dragon Yuan? As the picture showed Emperor Shirtian heading towards the Dragon Yuan, most people realized what was happening. Their faces changed. The current Emperor Shirtian had already used up the power of the phoenix blood. If he swallowed the Dragon Yuan, combined with his 2,000 years of experience, nobody could stop him. Could Emperor Shirtian actually achieve immortality? The thought came to everyone's mind. If he did, it wouldn't be good for JoJo. Everyone was shocked. But this picture showed the future. Now, even if everyone in JoJo was anxious, there was nothing they could do. They could only watch the picture as Emperor Shirtian entered a temple. The Dragon Yuan was there. Han Dynasty. Weiyang Palace. If Emperor Shirtian gets the Dragon Yuan, I'm afraid, he really can live forever. Lu Bang looked at the figure entering the temple, and his face turned grim. Even though Emperor Shirtian had used up the phoenix blood, 2,000 years was enough time for it to merge with him, and now, with the dragon Yuan. Su Fu might really become immortal this time. If not, he could live for over 2,000 years. Chapter 63. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2,000 years. Before, the heavenly Tao had rewarded him with a lifetime extension, but that was only for grandmasters. Now, eating the dragon essence would give Su Fu another 2,000 years, adding that to the 2,000 years he already had, he'd be looking at 4,000 or 5,000 years total. 5,000 years. Think of the dynasties that have risen and fallen, the famous people who've come and gone, it's insane. Even Liu Bang, emperor of the Supreme Dynasty, gasped and felt lightheaded. Ming Dynasty, Forbidden City, Zhu Yuanzhang was speechless. 2,000 years is already pushing the boundaries of what people can imagine. But Su Fu living for 5,000 years. Unbelievable. He's become an immortal, right? Zhu Yuanzhang finally said, his face grim. Even though Zhu Yuanzhang had a rough childhood, he occasionally passed by tea houses and overheard stories about immortals, flying, hiding, living forever. He figured if Emperor Shetian kept going like this, he'd actually achieve immortality. Zhu Di, hearing his father's muttering, was taken aback, then looked helpless. Dad's off again, he thought. How could there be immortals? But still, this Emperor Shetian, he had to admit, the guy was terrifying. Possibly the only person in Zhozhou to have lived for 5,000 years, Song Dynasty, Tang Dynasty, every emperor's gaze was fixed on the Tiandao Golden List. They watched Emperor Shetian enter the temple and retrieve 2 dragon essences. Just as everyone thought he was about to swallow them and achieve true immortality, something weird happened. Someone showed up. Duan Lang. The name was vaguely familiar. After racking their brains, they remembered he was one of the 7 masters. He was pretty low profile, not like Nie Feng or Bu Jingyun, and he'd surrendered to Tianmen, becoming Emperor Shetian's subordinate, so, what was he doing there now? Could it be about the dragon essence? That thought popped into everyone's head. Duan Lang used to be a nobody, ignored by Emperor Shetian. He barely featured in the Tiandao Golden List's broadcasts. People just saw him as a minor character. Despite being one of the 7 masters, no one really paid him any attention. But now, with Emperor Shetian seriously injured and about to consume the dragon essence, he appeared. The implication was obvious. In the scene, the injured Emperor Shetian spotted Duan Lang. He was stunned, then realized Duan Lang had been following him. After a brief exchange, something happened that infuriated Emperor Shetian. It turned out Duan Lang was the reason for the attack during his 5 Thunders practice. Boom! Furious, Emperor Shetian unleashed everything he had against Duan Lang. Boom! Waves of energy exploded as Emperor Shetian used the 4 tribulations of the Sacred Heart and the 4 decisions of the Sacred Heart, pulling out all the stops. But without the phoenix blood, his immortal body was gone, his wounds wouldn't heal, and the previous battle had exhausted him. Any exertion sent jolts of pain through his internal organs. Even so, Emperor Shetian launched an attack capable of killing a master. Fighting for his life. But in the end, he fell to Duan Lang's sword. Silence. When Emperor Shetian died, Zhozhou went silent, dead. No one imagined Emperor Shetian, who'd lived for 2,000 years and was seemingly invincible, would die at the hands of some unknown junior. Duan Lang, Duan Lang. Emperor Shetian wandered the world his whole life, only to die at the hands of a swordsman named Duan Lang. Ironic, or something else? Everyone was shocked, at a loss for words. Was this karma? Looking at Emperor Shetian's lifeless gaze, the thought crossed their minds. They were just wondering if Emperor Shetian would become immortal, the only Zhozhou legend to live for 5,000 years. Then, bam! Emperor Shetian collapsed and died. Talk about dramatic. Even the emperors were reeling. Chapter 74 Heaven's Blessing. The reward for the 4th place on the peerless list. Su Fu was strong. Even though he was seriously wounded and the phoenix blood had lost its effect, he still managed to fight a master. But his injuries were too severe. He died by the fire scale sword in the end. Everyone was stunned. Could Su Fu, who had wandered for more than 2,000 years, really be dead? It was a shock. But thinking about it, it made sense. Su Fu was too arrogant, thinking he had Jojo in the palm of his hand, so he completely underestimated Duan Lang. And that's how it ended, sad. And a little tragic. As Jojo processed Emperor Shutian's death, Tianmen, Su Fu, killed by a nobody like Duan Lang, lost it. How could he be killed by such a puny person? Duan Lang. I'll crush you. I'll crush you to death. Emperor Shutian clenched his fists, his murderous aura so intense it was practically solid. He never expected things to end like this. 7 masters, Duan Lang. He, Su Fu, swore that after his rebirth, he'd crush them one by one. As for the real dragon, he'd find another way. He wouldn't let them live. Huff, huff, huff. After his outburst, Su Fu lay sprawled on the ground, gasping. The picture in the sky slowly faded, replaced by a vast golden light. A ripple spread across the void, radiating immense power. A heaven's blessing. Everyone was shocked. They recognized it. It was the heaven's blessing. And with Su Fu ranked 4th on the peerless list, and possessing great master-level cultivation, what kind of blessing would he get? Boom! Countless emperors couldn't help but look up, anticipation in their eyes. Chapter 64. You are listening at novelfull.audio. De Qin, Zhangtai Palace. What's the blessing gonna be this time? Dudingzheng stared at the dazzling golden light, his face etched with solemn curiosity. As the rankings of these incredible figures climb higher, the rewards get wilder, like that sweeping monk before, straight-up time travel. It's mind-blowing. Now, what kind of gift will Su Fu, ranked 4th, get? Immortality? Something else entirely? Yingyun was dying to know. Could they just make Su Fu straight-up immortal? The Han Dynasty, Liu Bang's eyes burned with a spark of envy. He took a deep breath, muttering under his breath. This Su Fu's power is unreal. Almost immortal, even. What kind of reward is coming? As Liu Bang trailed off, a thoughtful silence settled over Zhang Liang, Xiao He, and the others. Zhang Liang started to speak, but then seemed to reconsider and held his tongue. He had a feeling the heavenly golden list might actually grant Su Fu true immortality. But it was too crazy to think about. Tang Dynasty. Can you figure out what this heavenly reward is, National Master? Li Shimin, eyes lowered, turned to Yuan Tiangang, his voice low and probing. Yuan Tiangang had used divination for him before, but didn't know everything. Still, he was curious. Your Majesty, I have no idea. Yuan Tiangang offered a wry smile, a touch of helplessness in his voice. He felt like he'd said I don't know more today than ever since he'd learned divination, but the heavenly Tao golden list was a whole different ballgame, impossible to calculate, too many forbidden secrets involved. Yuan Tiangang even suspected that not even the founder of divination himself could predict this heavenly blessing. No matter how powerful the ancestors were, they could only deduce destiny. And behind the heavenly Tao golden list? Probably the real heavenly Tao itself. No comparison. Ah, well. Li Shimin knew he was asking for the impossible, sighed, and let it drop. The Ming Dynasty, Zhu Yuanzhang gazed up at the sky, lost in thought. The Song Dynasty, the Great Yuan, the Great Qing, and even the Turks, the Xiongnu, Tubo, Wei, Shu, Wu, all eyes in Kyushu converged once more. They watched as the waves of light rippled, finally coalescing in one spot, erupting into a pillar of light that pierced the heavens, the Tianmen. The gate of heaven. Suddenly, a spark ignited in everyone's eyes. They'd been searching for the gate of heaven, and now, a clear sign. Which direction was the Tianmen originally? Boom! Without hesitation, the armies of many dynasties shifted, subtly moving towards the gate of heaven. Meanwhile, inside the Tianmen, Emperor Shutian, who had been raging moments before, felt the golden rays and his anger was instantly replaced by pure joy, God's blessing. Lately, Emperor Shirtian had been keeping tabs on the other powerhouses on the list, and they all got incredible rewards. Sure, he was a little miffed about being ranked 4th, but, with a heavenly blessing, who cares about rankings? If things went really well, he'd challenge the top 3 personally. Then all of Kyushu would see who the real number 1 was. Whoosh! Just as Emperor Shirtian's heart pounded with excitement, the booming voice of the heavenly Tao echoed, not just in his ears, but across all of Kyushu. A young man journeyed to Kyushu, met a true phoenix, and attained immortality. The 4 tribulations of the Sacred Heart shook the past and present. Eternal dreams sadly become empty. Su Fu, ranked 4th on the Peerless list, receives a blessing from heaven. The colossal voice reverberated throughout Kyushu. Endless golden light poured from the void, bathing Su Fu in its radiance. From afar, he looked like a celestial being, inspiring awe and reverence. Some forces near the Tianmen had already closed in on it, but seeing Emperor Shirtian like this, they thought better of it and backed off. Chapter 75, Emperor Shirtian rejuvenates. Murderous intent begins to stir. God's blessing. Finally, it's here. And then, the scene in the sky showed a vivid image. No more blurry mess, but crystal clear. From far away it came, but immense. This was the first time the people of Jojo had seen the full Tianmen. Now there's no need to search. They only needed to compare the direction of the golden light with what they could see of the landscape, and they could easily pinpoint the Tianmen's location on a map. But none of that mattered now. If Su Fu achieved true immortality thanks to the heavenly Tao's blessing, combined with his terrifying Sacred Heart Sutra, human wave tactics would be useless against him. Maybe not impossible, but the cost would be too high, even the mightiest dynasty couldn't afford it. Meanwhile, at the Tianmen. Ha ha ha. I, Emperor Shirtian, am invincible in the world. Emperor Shirtian, drenched in golden light, threw back his head and roared, his laughter wild and arrogant. He knew in the future Duanlan killed him because of the dragon Yuan and phoenix blood. But the current Su Fu knows what's coming. He could avoid that future, with the blessing of the heavenly Tao, and with the Sacred Heart Sutra to protect him. Subconsciously, Su Fu looked up, anticipation burning in his eyes. What would it be? Whoosh! Suddenly, the golden rays swirled wildly. Then, the magnificent voice of the heavenly Tao golden list echoed across the sky once more. Heavenly Tao blessing. 1. Eliminates the disadvantages of phoenix blood. 2. Allows you to integrate all the martial arts you have learned. The powerful voice resonated from the sky, and then, the endless golden rays burst with terrifying energy, merging into Emperor Shirtian's body. 2 blessings. Less than some, that was true. Chapter 65. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Anything from that list would be enough to freak people out, phoenix blood having drawbacks. Seriously? And the really scary part is the martial arts integration. Think about it, Su Fu's Sacred Heart technique already combined pretty much every martial art in existence and took it to the extreme. Now, this heavenly Tao blessing is tossing all of Su Fu's other skills into the mix too. His power is about to hit levels we can't even imagine. Boom! Just as all of Jojo was losing its collective mind, the heavenly Tao blessing finally arrived, thousands of golden rays, waves of them. The whole world seemed bathed in gold. And everyone could see straight away that Emperor Shirtian was changing. Remember when he saw his own death, and got so mad he wrecked everything and ripped off his mask? Well, the heavenly Tao golden list spilled all his secrets anyway. Su Fu knew the mask was pointless, so, everyone got a good look at Emperor Shirtian's real face, ancient, kind of creepy, but now, those wrinkles started disappearing. Almost instantly, he was transforming. All signs of age were just gone, brand new. Phoenix blood lets you live forever, or for a really long time, but you still get old, and it's supposed to be permanent. Some folks in Jojo figured the phoenix blood didn't grant true immortality, just stretched your life out for a few thousand years. The theory was, Su Fu would eventually crumble to dust. Of course, nobody ever confirmed it. Su Fu ended up getting offed by Duanlang, not old age, but now, everyone could see the difference in Su Fu. In a flash, he was young again, full of energy, with no sign of 2,000 years' worth of wear and tear. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they'd think he was a teenager. Could this be what happens when you fix the Phoenix Blood's flaws? The people of Jojo were speechless, their faces thoughtful. Is aging the catch with Phoenix Blood, then? And what about Dragon Yuan, does it have drawbacks too? The thought popped into everyone's head, but there wasn't time to dwell on it. As soon as Su Fu looked younger, an insane aura exploded from him, too strong. Even with the heavenly Tao golden list in the way, everyone felt a wave of pure terror. A Grandmaster? This is what a real Grandmaster is like. Everyone's jaw dropped. They'd only glimpsed the power of a Grandmaster in the heavenly Tao golden list before. Nobody could grasp just how terrifying it really was. Now the truth was staring them right in the face. The dynasties closest to Heavenly Gate were feeling it the worst. They'd been stoked to have Heavenly Gate nearby, and their emperors hadn't hesitated to send troops. They figured even if Emperor Shirtian was a Grandmaster, he'd be pinned down by sheer numbers. Now those dynasties realized how wrong they were. This Grandmaster was beyond anything a few thousand soldiers could handle, more like 100,000. That was a crazy number. Still, some emperors of smaller dynasties were sweating. Could 100,000 guys really take down a Grandmaster? Pull back General Wu. Now. Everyone retreat. After a beat, the emperors started yelling. They were ordering all the soldiers they'd sent to surround Su Fu to fall back. For a small dynasty, losing tens of thousands of soldiers was a death sentence. They'd thought they could maybe take on Su Fu together, even if they couldn't win outright. Worst case, Su Fu escaped and they split up all the loot Tianmen had been hoarding. In 2,000 years, Su Fu had collected martial art secrets, rare treasures, gold, jewelry, who knew how much stuff. But those emperors were regretting everything now. A Grandmaster was way out of their league. But nobody expected Emperor Shirtian to make a move. Chapter 76, Su Fu's gone off the deep end. Defying the world. On the screen, Emperor Shirtian, now blessed by heaven, had mastered all martial arts. Just how many martial arts did Emperor Shirtian know? Nobody in Jojo could say for sure. Too many. Su Fu had forgotten most of them after he started with the Sacred Heart Sutra anyway. Sometimes even he couldn't remember what techniques he knew. But with this heavenly blessing, everything had changed. Even Su Fu didn't realize how dangerous it would be once he had all the old skills at his fingertips. He figured that even at his peak, he'd lose to the current version of himself. I, Su Fu, am invincible. But with that thought, his gaze drifted to the soldiers massing outside, almost completely surrounding him. A murderous glint flashed in his eyes. He'd noticed the soldiers coming, of course. But he hadn't cared. Compared to tracking down the real dragon and true immortality, those ants were nothing. But now, Su Fu was feeling bloodthirsty, plus, all the cobwebs had cleared, and his power was off the charts. Su Fu wanted a good brawl to stretch his legs. And those tens of thousands of soldiers from the dynasties were just the guys to make it happen. Boom! Su Fu unleashed his Qinggong. A massive energy surged from him as he used the 4 sacred hearts and the 4 tribulations of the sacred heart at nearly the same time. Then he dove into the crowd. Instantly, a mist of blood filled the whole screen. Everyone watching was in shock. Total shock. The Han Dynasty, Weiyang Palace. How dare Su Fu? Lu Bang shot to his feet, his face dark as he watched the carnage. Is he trying to make enemies of all of Jojo? There were always dynastic struggles and martial arts rivalries in Jojo, but it was never a total free-for-all. Some lines just weren't crossed. Like wanton slaughter, unless it was a fight to the death for the throne, conquered soldiers weren't usually massacred on a grand scale, and in the martial arts world, wiping out entire families was pretty rare. It happened, but not often. It was an unspoken rule of Jojo. Otherwise, the whole place would be a bloodbath. Sure, there were always some psychos who went around massacring cities, but they usually had some noble reason, revenge or whatever. For instance, there was a little dynasty near the Han called Wei State. They'd started off massacring a city in the name of avenging their father. Even then, everyone gave them heat for it. But now Emperor Shutian was just slaughtering soldiers at random, defying the world. Was he really not worried about getting a target painted on his back by every dynasty in Zhou? The Ming Dynasty, the Forbidden City. Zhu Yuanzhang's face was grim as he watched Indra go to work. Chapter 66. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Those minor dynasties are scheming, hoping to exploit the situation, but ultimately, they haven't acted. How could this Emperor Shutian just go around killing people? Father, this Emperor Shutian, he's gotta go. Zhu Di's face was grim, a murderous glint in his eyes. I believe the Ming Dynasty must go all in to take him out. Zhu Di rarely displayed such anger in front of Zhu Yuanzhang. He always presented a humble and easygoing demeanor, even swallowing his pride at times, but now, he couldn't mask the murderous intent in his heart. If Emperor Shutian isn't eliminated, he'll bring disaster to the land. He's too powerful, and doesn't seem to care about the consequences. That's what makes him dangerous. Zhu Yuanzhang was silent, then nodded slowly. I know. I'm just wondering what the other emperors are thinking. He meant the other leaders of the great dynasties. Against a grand master like Shutian, sending the armies of smaller dynasties would be a waste. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers would die for nothing. Everything hinges on the Supreme Dynasty's response. In the Tang Dynasty, Li Shimin shot to his feet. He watched Su Fu massacre the soldiers, his eyes blazing, his face a mask of cold fury. Your Majesty, order us to march against Su Fu. Qing Yaojin stepped forward, his voice booming. What's the big deal about bullying smaller dynasties? Let him try my old Cheng's axe. Qing Yaojin was known for his honesty and hated bullies. And Emperor Shutian, clearly a grand master, was butchering soldiers. Qing Yaojin couldn't stand for it. In the Song Dynasty, Zhao Kuangyin felt more secure than most. He had a promise from Zhang Sanfeng that the Grand Master would intervene if the Song Dynasty was threatened, a Grand Master's promise. Zhao Kuangyin felt relieved. He was glad he'd been decisive back then, when he asked the Master to lead him across mountains to Wudong Mountain. How else would he have obtained the Grand Master's promise? Heh. Zhao Kuangyin smiled and settled in to watch the show. In the Qin, within Zhongtai Palace, a solemn expression settled on Yingzheng's face as he watched the scene unfolding. The emperors of other dynasties might want the wealth of Tianmen, and Emperor Shutian could make them pay a price, but to openly and brutally massacre soldiers, that was too much. This Su Fu has been stirring up trouble for 2,000 years. Why is he going on a killing spree now? Gai Nye frowned, puzzled. This was unlike Su Fu. What else? He's got a big head. As Gai Nye puzzled over it, a lazy voice drawled. Yingyun yawned, glancing at Emperor Shutian. Now that he's eliminated the weaknesses of Phoenix blood and integrated all his martial arts, he thinks he's invincible. So he's not going to be cautious anymore. He'll just kill anyone who annoys him. Chapter 77. The arrogant Emperor Shutian thinks he can take on the top three. Got a big head. Gai Nye was taken aback, glancing at Yingyun. Are you saying he's killing people just because he doesn't like them? Gai Nye's feelings toward the 9th prince had changed a lot. Initially, he thought Yingyun was a genius and planned to mentor him. Then, he hated his lack of progress and gave up, but after the golden list appeared, Gai Nye realized Yingyun was actually smart, just difficult. Now, when the 9th prince spoke, Gai Nye listened, but did Emperor Shutian really think he could get away with killing people on a whim? Wasn't he afraid of the other dynasties retaliating? Gai Nye's question drew everyone's gaze, including Yingzheng. Like Gai Nye, they knew Emperor Shutian was powerful, but even knowing his actions would be broadcast across the land, why was he doing this? Yeah. Yingyun, realizing he had everyone's attention, sighed inwardly. He couldn't seem to keep his mouth shut, but he understood Emperor Shutian's mindset. In Emperor Shutian's eyes, he was invincible. If you're invincible, why bother holding back? More importantly, Yingyun suspected Emperor Shetian deliberately wanted people to see his cruelty. He wanted to attract the other dynasties, to add some spice to his boring immortal life. Maybe he even wanted to provoke the other Grand Masters, especially the top 3 on the peerless list. Emperor Shetian wasn't content being second best. Keep watching. Yingyun sighed and motioned for everyone to refocus on the golden list. Confused, they turned back to the screen. Su Fu's strength was undeniable. After receiving the blessing of heaven, eliminating the weaknesses of phoenix blood, and mastering all his martial arts, he had reached a level beyond comprehension. Combined with the 4 tribulations of the Sacred Heart, thousands died instantly, and the number kept climbing. To prevent anyone from escaping, Su Fu used a unique method, black sand to trap everyone. It was a complete massacre. Even some of the more ruthless figures in Kyushu were sickened. Limbs flew through the air, mixed with blood, turning the ground into a river. Ha ha ha. I am Emperor Shetian. Emperor Shetian laughed, releasing the rage he had bottled up on the golden list. Emperor Shetian, the emperors of the smaller dynasties watched in horror, wanting to tear him apart. As smaller dynasties, they were already struggling to survive. Tens of thousands of soldiers was their entire force. Seeing their armies dwindling, they were heartbroken. After this, they would be defenseless and likely swallowed up by stronger dynasties, becoming wealthy but powerless. But no matter how desperate they were helpless against Emperor Shetian. Time passed. Most of the soldiers were dead or dying. Corpses littered the ground, along with severed limbs. The blood formed a stream that eventually merged into a river. Chapter 67. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It turned the once clear stream into a river of blood, and one person was responsible, Emperor Shetian. Words can't describe his actions. Watching Emperor Shetian standing tall on the screen, almost everyone in JoJo had the same thought: this guy's a maniac. The wanton slaughter was beyond the pale. Peerless list. Am I worthy of the top spot? Just as dynasties were gearing up to take him down by any means necessary, Emperor Shetian, on screen, unleashed the Holy Heart's 4 tribulations, butchering thousands more, then roared. From this day forward, everyone on the peerless list has to fight me, or I'll slaughter a nation. If nobody shows in 2 weeks, I'm going on a killing spree. Boom. His arrogant voice echoed across the sky, rippling through the various dynasties. Everyone was stunned. Emperor Shetian's killing spree, was it all about the peerless list rankings? Looking at him now, people suddenly remembered the Tiandao golden list and how, when Emperor Shetian first appeared, he seemed fixated on being 4th on the peerless list. But after the Phoenix Blood and Dragon Yuan revelations, everyone had forgotten about it. Now, Emperor Shetian was on a rampage, demanding the top 3 on the peerless list come and face him. It clicked. Emperor Shetian was willing to slaughter tens of thousands of people just to fight the top 3. Crazy. Looking at Emperor Shetian's figure, that was the only word for it, completely nuts. He killed thousands just for a ranking, and threatened to wipe out countries if the top 3 didn't show. Still, everyone had to admit Emperor Shetian had the muscle to take down smaller dynasties. Even medium-sized dynasties would struggle against him. If the supreme dynasties didn't get involved, what to do? The question was on everyone's mind: were they just going to sit back and watch him lose it? Chapter 78. The dynasties weigh their options. Who dares challenge Emperor Shetian? Qin, Zhangtai Palace. Everyone watched the scene unfold, speechless. Emperor Shetian was butchering people just to challenge the top 3 on the peerless list. The Heavenly Dao Golden List had never been wrong, its rankings reflected true strength, but Su Fu refused to accept it, and was challenging the strongest through brute force. Had he lost his mind? Looking at the arrogant, laughing Emperor Shetian, people recalled Yingyun's earlier words. They'd wondered why Emperor Shetian, usually so cautious and secretive, would act so recklessly in front of all of JoJo. Now, it made sense. He wanted everyone in JoJo to see this, to draw out the top 3 on the peerless list. He was trying to overturn the Heavenly Dao Golden List's ranking. Delusional. That seemed to sum it up. What shocked everyone was how closely this mirrored Yingyun's prediction. His insight was uncanny. Everyone's respect for Yingyun surged. From the moment the Golden List was released, his views had been almost consistently accurate, unbelievable. He was a genius. Too bad he was a slacker. Everyone added that last thought, regretfully. If only he weren't so indifferent and applied his brilliance, imagine what Qin could achieve under his leadership. Qin would reach true glory. Yingyun saw the gazes, the initial shock turning to expectation, then disappointment, and twitched his mouth, unsure what to say. He knew what they were thinking, but, whatever, shaking his head, he dismissed them. Yawning, he casually glanced at Emperor Shutian and paused, noticing a tiny black dot in the sky behind him. What was that? He frowned, puzzled. It looked like a living being, even though it was distant and unclear. Yingyun, as a land immortal, sensed it, but who could it be? As the black dot drew closer, curiosity flickered across Yingyun's face. Had Emperor Shutian actually drawn out one of the top three? Now things were getting interesting. Time passed. Emperor Shutian stopped killing. He'd only started it to lure the top three out to fight him. After swallowing the phoenix blood and mastering all martial arts, he believed no one could beat him. He wanted the top spot. Just as he was about to return to Tianmen, he frowned. He sensed something approaching at high speed. What is it? He looked up, scanning the sky, a trace of doubt on his face. The energy signature was powerful, and seemed similar to his own. A grandmaster. He was shocked. Had he really attracted a grandmaster? Who could it be? Zhang Sanfeng? The sweeping monk? Or one of the elusive top three? Where, scanning the sky, he finally spotted a tiny black dot, rapidly approaching. That was it. Jojo, everyone was outraged by Emperor Shutian's actions. Some dynasties even considered immediately sending troops to crush Tianmen, but a dynasty wasn't an individual, and Emperor Shutian's power was terrifying, so, despite the indignation, few actually committed troops. They were waiting for someone else to move first, then they'd join in. Going it alone was out of the question. The fate of the two small dynasties served as a stark warning. Besides, Tianmen wasn't even in their territory. It straddled the border between two small, insignificant dynasties, and after Emperor Shutian's rampage, it was doubtful those dynasties would even survive. Why waste resources attacking him? Better to search the sea for the real dragon. So, against this arrogant Emperor Shutian, Jojo remained inactive. Ming Dynasty, Forbidden City. Zhu Yuanzhang looked at the scene, a trace of helplessness crossing his face. He sighed. He knew no one would send troops under the current balance of power. That was the way of the major dynasties. At best, they'd issue statements and form alliances. Sending in their own armies? Never. After all, the Tianmen was located at the junction of two small dynasties. Who would actually go to war? Chapter 68. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even if they actually mobilize troops and start moving baggage and supplies, it'll be a real nightmare. And even if they teamed up, their distrust of each other would make them all play it safe, hiding their weaknesses, so, they're probably too scared to actually take on Emperor Shutian. And Zhu Yuanzhang is stuck. Because if the Ming dynasty throws its hat in the ring and goes after Emperor Shutian, it'll pay a steep price. The reward for that won't be gratitude, that's for sure. It'll be an all-out war. And even if the Ming dynasty is one of the strongest empires, it'll have a hard time holding off all the vultures circling around, looking for a weakness. Just as Zhu Yuanzhang was lamenting, he noticed Emperor Shutian in the picture was glancing around, like he sensed something, and Zhu Yuanzhang was caught off guard. What's going on? That it wasn't just the Ming dynasty, either. Right then, dynasties everywhere picked up on it, and they were all floored. See, even though Emperor Shutian's arrogant, after pulling together all those martial arts techniques and fixing the phoenix blood drawbacks, he's incredibly powerful. Even Zhang Sanfeng, who's a grandmaster himself, would have a hard time against him. So, what kind of entity could make him look like that? Without even thinking, everyone glanced in the direction Emperor Shutian was looking. They saw a tiny black dot growing bigger in the vast sky. Wait, is that a person? Chapter 79 Mysterious Taoist. Walking on air. Faces Emperor Shutian. That small black dot kept getting bigger and bigger, and it took on a human shape. Is that a person? Who is it? Staring at the image on the Tiandao Golden List, shock spread across everyone's faces, desperate to know who it was. Emperor Shi Tian is a genuine Grandmaster powerhouse. Plus, with the phoenix blood boosting him, he's nearly immortal. Even a Grandmaster would likely be helpless against his insane healing. That aura feels similar to Taoism. In Wudong, Zhang Sanfeng stood with his hands clasped behind his back, sensing the black dot getting closer, brows furrowed. The picture from the heavenly Tao Golden List is like a projection, even some of the aura and pressure feels real. Most people in Zhozhou below the Grandmaster level can't sense it, though. But Zhang Sanfeng is a Grandmaster, and he's been enlightened for ages, so he can pick up on things like that. Even though the little black dot hasn't revealed his face yet, the Taoist vibe makes Zhang Sanfeng think he's dealt with this person. This has to be a Taoist master. Even if he isn't, he's definitely a cultivator. Just in time for a fight. At the gate of heaven, Emperor Shi Tian waved his hand, dropping all the barriers, and ignored the surviving soldiers as they ran off in a panic. He only stared at the sky, and a cold voice echoed through the world. Whoever you are, I'll kill you today. He, Su Fu, has lived for 2,000 years, and he's fixed the phoenix blood issue, truly becoming immortal. Plus, with heaven's favor, he's combined all the martial arts he's mastered. Su Fu doesn't think anyone can beat him. If the top 3 on the peerless list don't show, fine. But if they do, he'll make sure everyone in Zhozhou knows that he, Su Fu, is the real number 1. Boom! Su Fu's body exploded with a terrifying aura. The Sacred Heart technique was firing on all cylinders. Standing at the top of the gate of heaven, he waited quietly for the guy to show. Zhozhou, the dynasties had all gone silent. They looked up, watching the little black dot in the image get bigger and bigger, the outline finally taking shape. Then, it came down. It was a Taoist, with a heavenly look to him, giving off a warm and friendly vibe. But his appearance wasn't the most surprising thing. It was that he was walking on air. The Taoist floated there, no wires, nothing to stand on. A breeze fluttered his robe, making him look like an immortal. All of Zhozhou was speechless. Even Emperor Shi Tian was stunned, a glint in his eyes, struggling to believe it. On Zhozhou, a master can move fast by grabbing onto something to propel themselves. Speed-wise, they're like eagles soaring in the sky, super fast. Zhao Kuanyin got to Wudong Mountain so fast because the Grandmasters teamed up to carry him. A Grandmaster could even stay in the air for a bit by using a leaf or a branch, so, sometimes when a Grandmaster is traveling, it looks like they're flying. But all that requires some kind of leverage. Before, when the little black dot came from far away, everyone assumed he was moving fast by pushing off of things. But now, looking at the Taoist suspended in mid-air, everyone was floored. How is that even possible? No leverage at all. How can you just float like that? Tianmen. Who are you? Emperor Shi Tian stared at the figure in the sky, silently activated the Sacred Heart technique, levitating himself, and asked in a cold voice. Everyone could see that Emperor Shi Tian's floating looked clunky. He looked like he was forcing himself to stay up with his internal energy. It was completely different from the Taoist's casual look. The difference was night and day. Who is it? As Emperor Shi Tian spoke, that question popped into everyone's head. Who is this Taoist? Everyone racked their brains, from the major dynasties to the martial arts world, trying to remember if they'd ever seen this person before, but no one could figure out when a Taoist like this had appeared in Zhozhou. Tian Shan, Lingzhou Palace. Who is that? A girl, maybe 7 or 8, looked at the Taoist in the image, blinking, disbelief on her face, and whispered. That's impossible. Grandma, what's wrong? The 4 women standing next to her were stunned and asked her. These 4 women were maybe 24 or 25, and they were all gorgeous. But, they were super respectful to the little girl, calling her, Grandma. Humph, the girl's eyes flashed, glaring at the 4 women, and she snapped. Do I need your permission for anything? Boom. The four women turned white and knelt without hesitation. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Please forgive me, Grandma, that these four women are plum, orchid, bamboo, and chrysanthemum, and each of them is a first-class master. But, in front of the 8-year-old girl, they didn't act like masters, they were scared stiff. The girl was the famous Tian Shan child elder in the martial arts world. She isn't very strong right now due to her cultivation, but because of the life and death talisman, she could make the four first-class masters of plum, orchid, bamboo, and chrysanthemum suffer in agony. So, no one dared to resist her. Humph. Tian Shan child elder didn't say anything, but looked at the image in the sky, her face thoughtful. Qin Dynasty, in a fancy palace, a woman looked up at the sky, disbelief on her face. Master? He's alive. Chapter 69. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing the picture on the golden list, Ding Chuanxiu was filled with regret. How could that old geezer still be alive? Just how old would he even be? I betrayed him. If he comes looking for payback, I'm screwed. Chapter 80. Kyushu is shook. Who is Zaiyayozi? Tianmen, the air was still and silent, a breeze rustled through the fallen leaves, the only sound between Emperor Shi Tian and the mysterious Taoist. The leaves swirled slightly, creating ripples. Finally, they settled back down. Everyone in Kyushu was glued to the golden list. After Emperor Shi Tian, another unknown powerhouse. The thought sent a shiver down their spines. Grandmaster. Is this the might of a grandmaster? Other than Zhang of Wudong, their backgrounds are a mystery. Whether it's the sweeping monk or Emperor Shi Tian, without the golden list, nobody would even know that such powerful figures existed in Kyushu. And now, another grandmaster has appeared. Even though Emperor Shi Tian and the mysterious Taoist haven't fought, the fact that the Taoist can levitate shows his terrifying strength. He's at least a grandmaster. Maybe even stronger than Emperor Shi Tian. It's possible Emperor Shi Tian is still getting used to his new powers and hasn't mastered levitation yet, but one thing is undeniable. Before receiving the blessing of heaven, Emperor Shi Tian would have never been a match for this mysterious Taoist. Who the hell are you? Emperor Shi Tian demanded, staring at the silent Taoist. Are you here to fight? Phoenix blood grants him incredible resilience, his greatest asset. He believes that even against a stronger opponent, the Phoenix blood would give him the edge. That's why Emperor Shi Tian took the risks he did. Still, facing a potentially superior being, Emperor Shi Tian was cautious and solemn. He was prepared to give it his all. This humble Taoist is Zaiyayozi. The Taoist smiled faintly, sensing Emperor Shi Tian's killing intent. He nodded slightly. You're harming the world by taking lives. You should turn back while you still can. That the Taoist spoke calmly, without any hostility. It was as if you were talking to a friend, not a grandmaster who had just massacred tens of thousands of people. He descended from the sky and sat on the steps of Tianmen. He looked up at Emperor Shi Tian. Plus, I'm tired of floating. I need a rest. He wiped imaginary sweat from his brow and fanned himself with his sleeve. All of Kyushu was dumbfounded. What was going on? The Taoist, who had moments before exuded an air of immortality, suddenly changed completely. It was hard to believe. If they hadn't just seen him flying, they'd think he was just an ordinary traveling Taoist. The contrast was jarring. De Qin, Zhongtai Palace. Zaiyayozi, Yingyun pondered, the name sounding familiar, but he couldn't place it. Judging by his strength, he seems much stronger than Emperor Shi Tian. Emperor Shizhen finally bit off more than he can chew. Yingyun chuckled, watching the golden list. He had been planning to take down Emperor Shi Tian himself, but it seems that's no longer necessary. Zaiyayozi can handle it. Even if Emperor Shi Tian isn't defeated, he won't be so arrogant anymore. Zaiyayozi, Gynya frowned, a hint of hesitation on his face. He also knew a Zaiyayozi. But this one seems vastly different. Daming, Forbidden City. Zaiyayozi. Can Jiniwei dig up anything on him? Zhu Yuanzhang asked Zhu Di. Jiniwei hadn't made any breakthroughs since the appearance of these peerless figures, but they had been reliable, kind of like other dynasties in Kyushu. They found next to nothing. But Zhu Yuanzhang still hoped, what if? Judging by his demeanor, this Zaiyozi is a Taoist master like Zhang Sanfeng. Although such strong men don't like fighting, they're approachable. Easy to win over. Like Zhao Kuanyin, who traveled to Wudang Mountain and asked for Zhang Sanfeng's blessing. Many dynasties saw that as a disgrace for the emperor. Especially for the Song dynasty, one of the supreme dynasties. But it worked. Taoist masters demand respect, even if it's embarrassing. It's worth the trouble. Your son is incompetent. Zhu Di knelt, looking defeated. There's no information on Zaiyozi. As soon as Zaiyozi appeared, Zhu Di ordered his men to search Jiniwei's records, trying to find something on the Taoist, but even with Jiniwei's unparalleled intelligence, they came up empty. At least, there was no record of this Zaiyozi. Why? Zhu Yuanzhang sighed, but didn't scold Zhu Di. He knew it was difficult to get information on grandmasters. Tang Dynasty, many emperors faced the same problem. No matter how they searched, there was no information on Zaiyozi. Even if they found someone, it was just a common name. However, a sect called the Xiaoyao sect caught everyone's attention, and the founder of the Xiaoyao sect was also called Zaiyozi. But he was said to be dead. 3 of his disciples had confirmed it, so it must be true. So, who is this Zaiyozi? Chapter 81. A breeze. Duel with Emperor Shitian. A shocking calamity. Tianmen. Emperor Shitian was stunned. Chapter 70. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He hadn't expected the supposed grandmaster to just chill on the steps like that. There wasn't a shred of urgency you'd expect in a fight between equals. Is this guy seriously not taking me seriously? The thought sparked a fire in Emperor Shitian. He glared at the Taoist calling himself Zaiyozi, completely enraged. Shocking tribulation, boom, icy power erupted from Emperor Shitian's eyes, a truly terrifying sight. Shocking tribulation was one of the 4 ultimate attacks of the Holy Heart. And now, amplified by the heavenly Tao, this shocking tribulation was infused with countless martial art secrets, making it exponentially more powerful than before. The mesmerizing ice transformed into a streak of light, hurtling directly toward Zaiyozi. This was Emperor Shitian at his angriest. The power was immense. It was a far cry from the shocking tribulation he'd used to slaughter those soldiers earlier. Some even whispered that this single blow could take down even a grandmaster. Why so much murderous intent? Seeing the chilling light that threatened to obliterate everything, Zaiyozi sighed, a hint of helplessness on his face. Then, he simply waved his sleeve, creating a long, white arc. The arc was light, airy, like a silk ribbon. It gently brushed through the air. Compared to the bone-chilling aura of the shocking tribulation, it was practically harmless. You could even call it innocent. But what happened next left everyone speechless. The arc collided with the ice from the shocking tribulation and passed right through it, without even slowing down. Then, it floated forward a bit before slowly fading away. Silence. Not just Emperor Shitian, but all of Zhozhou was stunned. No one doubted Emperor Shitian's strength. He was a grandmaster. An immortal who had lived for 2,000 years. And now, with the heavenly Tao having fixed the flaws of the phoenix blood and infused him with countless martial arts skills. His strength was on a level that normal people couldn't even comprehend. But just based on this one simple exchange, he was clearly at a disadvantage. Han Dynasty, Weiyang Palace. A hidden weapon? Or some kind of secret technique? Lu Bang watched the scene in the sky, his face etched with concern as he muttered to himself, too fast. There was no time to react. And yet, Emperor Shitian's shocking tribulation was effortlessly neutralized. Zhang Liang and the others exchanged glances, shaking their heads. Some of them had led armies into battle, others had masterminded victories from 1,000 miles away. But their understanding of martial arts was limited. How could they possibly know what had just happened? Tang Dynasty. National teacher, did you see that move? Li Shimon's face was grim as he turned to the only master on the peerless list in the Tang Dynasty and asked in a deep voice, how did he break Emperor Shitian's shocking tribulation? Just moments ago, Emperor Shitian's shocking tribulation had reaped countless lives. And now, it was countered so easily. Unbelievable. No. I have no idea. Yuan Tiangong's face was still in shock. He took a deep breath and said, but Zaiyaozi's strength is on another level. Yuan Tiangang was only a master himself. And he had only entered that realm after being blessed by the heavens. But from studying divination, he occasionally had glimpses of the future. A mysterious sense that was usually right. And right now, that feeling was telling him that Zaiyaozi's strength was terrifying. The kind of terror that surpassed a grandmaster. Against Su Fu, he was afraid, there was little hope. Wudong Mountain, perched on a cliff, Zhang Sanfeng stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Watching the long arc that Zaiyaozi had casually created, his eyes flashed with a trace of emotion. A gentle breeze, he murmured. Others might have missed it, but as a grandmaster, he could discern what they couldn't. The Taoist who called himself Zaiyaozi hadn't used any secret method or supernatural power. He had simply waved his sleeve, creating a breeze, and that breeze had transformed into the arc that blocked the shocking tribulation. Astounding. The scene replayed in Zhang Sanfeng's mind, stirring even his calm demeanor. A breeze? What breeze? Hearing Zhang Sanfeng's mumbling, the 7 Wudong heroes looked puzzled. Master, is everything all right? But Zhang Sanfeng was lost in his thoughts and didn't respond. The 7 Wudong heroes exchanged confused looks. What's up with our master? Qin Dynasty, Zhongtai Palace. A hint of seriousness flickered across Yingyun's face. He seemed to realize something. He turned to Yingyun, who was watching the show with a relaxed air. Yunner, do you know what's going on? Even Yingyun hadn't noticed it, but he seemed to be increasingly interested in getting answers from his son, the one he considered a total slacker. It likely had something to do with the predictions Yingyun had made, which were coming true one by one. Yingyun was surprised when Yingyun suddenly asked him, is Dad having another fit? Why is he asking me? No. I need to keep a low profile, even if the gold list was about to expose him. He had to stay under the radar for as long as possible. No idea, Yingyun waved his hand dismissively. How would I know something like that? Yingyun could clearly see the fight on the screen. That arc was just a wisp of breeze, propelled by Zaiyaozi's true energy, and tossed out carelessly, but even if he told Yingyun, nobody would believe him. A breeze? Everyone considered a breeze to be weak. How could it possibly stand up to Emperor Shitian's shocking tribulation? So Yingyun simply kept quiet and enjoyed the show. Yingyun scowled, annoyed by Yingyun's lazy attitude. But he suppressed his anger and looked back at the Dao gold list. When the peerless list is finished, I'm dealing with you. He turned his attention back to the scene in the sky, Chapter 82 defeating Emperor Shitian with a single punch. Kyushu stunned, high above. Emperor Shitian stood in the air, the shocking tribulation turning the atmosphere frigid. Absolute cold. Even the Tianmen plaque was frosting over. But Zaiyaozi was untouched, a few meters near the stairs of Tianmen Gate. Like an island. Or, to be exact, only the steps within 4 or 5 meters of Zaiyaozi.